On today's episode of the Commander series Revamped, we'll be going through Indus, one of the legendary, or rather the only legendary gathering hero and a pretty underrated support. So stick around in this video as we'll be discussing her skills, her talents, her build, her pairings, and why do I consider her underrated. What's up guys, MEOWER here back with a brand new Call of Dragons video. So today we'll finally be discussing the last legendary commander in the game right now, as it is, and that legendary commander is Indus, the Sage of Order. Like I mentioned, Indus, in my opinion, is a very underrated support commander that can have a lot of uses if she is implemented correctly in your marches. However, she is also the only legendary gathering hero. Before we get started, I would like to remind you that this is another episode of the Commander Series Revamped, where we visit every single commander, discuss their builds, their pairings, their talents, and their skills, and try and help you get the most out of every single commander, whether if it's on their talents or their pairings. If you like videos like this, please don't forget to subscribe. And that being said, let's get started. And this being the only gathering and support legendary commander, or not the only support, because Tia is also considered a support, but she is the only gathering legendary commander. She has two main uses, and we'll find that out as we discuss her skills. Starting off with Indus's skills, her first skill, Axiom of Glory, is pretty underrated when it comes to the open field. Well, for two main reasons. One, it has an attack range of very far. That means she can work with every single troop type, whether if you use her on mages, archers, infantry, cavalry, or flying units, which is pretty great considering it has big synergy. What the skill does and what makes it so valuable is that it inflicts Infirm on the target legion and two nearby legions. So in total, she is inflicting Infirm on three legions, increasing all damage taken by them by up to 20%. So what that means is that when she casts her primary rage skill, she is pretty much giving them a damage amplification by your marches, that your marches are going to deal up to 20% extra damage on them, which is pretty massive, all things considered. That is why it's only 2 seconds, but the Awaken skill makes it even better. Her second skill is the Gathering skill, which increases her gather speed in total by up to 20% and makes her specialize in wood, which grants an increase of up to 10%. We'll visit the talents to make use of this bonus way more and all that juicy stuff, which will happen a little bit over time. The third skill, Rejuvenating Blessing, increases her HP and max minimum legion capacity by up to 20% HP and 7.5 thousand legion capacity. Pretty nice overall. And finally, her last skill, Purge. Her legion gains unyielding every 8 seconds, increasing or rather decreasing the counterattack damage taken by 20%, all the way up to 50%, and removing one debuff effect. And finally, her Awaken skill improves her Infirm, making it last for 3 seconds instead of 2, and increasing her heal slightly by 100. Now, what this means for her skills is that the way you want to build her, if you're going the support route, is that you want to maximize her rage cycling and make her as tanky as possible, because as she does gain an decrease of counterattack, making it safer for her to attack from rage despite not dealing the most damage. As for Indus's build, she has two primary builds, the Gathering and the Support. Start off, we'll show the standard Gathering, which goes the regular Earth Grace, March Speed, and Gathering Speed. Nothing too deviating. We go the usual Transforming Spirit, then we grab another Earth's Grace, what we want to improve is even more wood gathering, and of course the mana gather speed, because mana is the most important resource and also the slowest one to gather overall. Usually you could also go ore gathering when you level her up further, but primarily we want to reach the third Earth's Grace as fast as possible in the build. We will also go for quick harvest, increasing the Legion's gather speed by 20%, which is far more valuable than the lost 10% load capacity, which you will supplement by just adding a little more troops. Next up, we want to go even faster on the march speed when it comes to the gathering units, just to get them out of harm quicker. We don't need the extra legion capacity, and we don't need reducing several severely wounded units, because usually gathering troops are very inexpensive and rather easy to replace and train, and they don't die anyways. So that is a cherry on top. Next up, we're going to go for the Logistics Master to increase even further gather speed. And finally, the last Earth's Grace. And the last talent, it can go for either Windfall to get 3 extra standard crates, or Lay of the Land to increase the city bonus production by 50%. That is up to you. I personally prefer Windfall just for the extra storage in my inventory. And then finally, if you have any extra points, just dump it all on the other types of gathering speed. And then when you have even more points, go for transport even further. Try to make your troops as fast as possible to delay any downtime when it comes to gathering resources. That is it for the standard gathering build. Next up, the support build. We're going to go for the standard with grace because there's no other option. We're going to go for extra march speed to be even quicker to get in and out of combat. And finally, HP for the starting tree. And then we're going to get transforming spirits. And now we're going to use the support tree as our primary build. We're going to go for HP. We're going to go for an increase to rage cycle and make our rage cycling even further. We don't need Shelter of Compassion because we don't use any shields. We don't need overall defense. What we're going to do is going to go for overall all conquering to reduce further attack damage dealt by either marchers, or decrease the amount of counterattack damage we take. Next up, we're going to go for Force Field to make ourselves even tankier. We're going to go for the increased healing. When we receive a debuff, we don't need Intimidation because we're not really casting any damage skills. We don't need Shrink because we don't need Mastermind. We're going to go for Ex Nihilo. We're going to go for the Rebirth to gain even more healing and more buffering, and also to get Pick Me Up, which will help us rage cycle even further. And finally, we're going to go for Flock of Blessings in order to heal and keep our marches top. So our healing factor is improved because healing factor is solely, or rather mostly, based out of the amount of troops you have. Then we're going to use the overall tree as our secondary. We're going to go for HP. We're going to go for march speed. And we're going to go for increased legion capacity just to increase the value of healing when it comes to healing factor, because we don't need intimidation and we don't need adrenaline rush, because we don't want to deal much normal attack damage as to not take further counterattack, and we want to stay topped up as much as possible. And finally, we're going to go for Spirited Response, because should we ever get targeted, we would gain even further rage, and will help us cycle our rage skill even further to make use of Infirm, to make use of the heal and such. We don't need Guardian Angel because damage reduction for only 10 seconds in a battle when you are running a ranged march is not valuable at all, because it's going to take a while before you even start getting hit by anything, and you already get a counterattack reduction. So you might as well just have Spirited Response. Should you get hit, you will get even further value from it, much more as fights go on, because you want to use on Indus is a ranged Mage March or a Celestial March if you're running the League of Order. However, I do recommend definitely going Vestals on her, or any of the other mage type troops. That is it for her talents. Next up, her pairings. in this pairings can be very tricky in order to utilize her to the max. Some might say you can run pan on her with her as well, but I would prefer you give her something that will give her further sustainability in order to cycle out her Axiom of Glory as much as possible. So you can run in this Garwood of all people, mainly because he has a heal that will keep the Mage March topped off to help her cycle her healing, AoE healing, and her Infirm even further, and as well reduce as much damage taken as possible. Because this March's job is to not deal damage; it is to buff your troops, give them healing, and provide as much Infirm value as possible. The next pairing you can run on in this is in this Eliana, just for the extra shields, some slightly attack damage reduction, and of course increasing their defense and all the juicy stuff, and as well getting an additional heal if she gets shielded, which she should every time she casts her rage skill. One other pairing you can use on in this is Thea. However, this only works if Thea is awakened just to make use of the AoE shield. However, that should be your lowest priority march, or rather your lowest priority pairing on her. So just to recap, you can run in this Garwood to maximize her survivability. You can run in this Eliana to maximize her survivability, or you can run in this pan to be a rather walking hospital, healing everyone. One thing I don't like about running pan secondary though is that you gain onslaught, increasing your normal attack damage, which in turn will increase the counter attack damage you receive, which you want to be as tanky as possible and not actually taking any counter attack, or rather minimizing the counter attack you take, which is why I recommend your top priority pairing to be in this Garwood or in this Aliana, just to make use of her constant healing and her cycling. That is it for the pairing. As for upgrading in this, or rather obtaining her, she's only obtainable from the Dragon Trail shop. You need a total of 230 days to awaken her fully right after summoning her. If you're getting every single token every day from the Dragon Trail shop, it is the only way and the only method that you can use in order to awaken her. You do need to buy every single token, which is a total of 690, just to awaken her and maximize her value that she can provide. If you like videos like this, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. And as usual, I'll be continuing the Commander Series Revamp just to finish up all the epic commanders that are left, and then I will start working on the commons. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Meow meow.